Hey, you're watching Rapid MMA. This will be my picks and brief analysis on the Fox Sports 1 prelims. And we'll start with Cody Garbrandt versus Takeya Mizugaki. This is really an interesting matchup. It's overlooked, pretty much a lock for Cody. The odds are around -600 for Cody, plus 450 underdog for Mizugaki, and I can understand. Cody's a hot prospect. He's younger, definitely faster than Mizugaki. He has great power. Mizugaki hasn't had the best showings lately. He usually fights to a decision, looks kind of chinny. With Cody's speed and power, it's easy to see how he'll likely catch Mizugaki and knock him out. I believe that's the general consensus, and I agree that's the right pick to take. I'm going to go the opposite way though. I'm feeling a little risky on this fight. Garbrandt has a good chin himself, a pretty tough guy, but he's been knocked out, and he was knocked out pretty brutally. Kind of forever tarnished my confidence to pick Cody going forward. Also, I'm not quite sold on him just yet. I think Cody is a good striker. His footwork is okay. I think his speed is what really makes the difference, the combination of his speed and power, but he still relies on his chin a little too much for my liking, and I wonder how far that can take him. He's very confident, often will leave his chin exposed as a result, and I could see him making a silly mistake against Mizugaki. Takeya Mizugaki is sorely underrated. He's a tough, durable fighter, as we all know, but he's also a very good striker. Like Cody, he leaves himself open to counters, but I think Mizugaki is much more dynamic with his right hand, and he's also very powerful. He ends up rocking most of his opponents. The problem is he has trouble finishing his opponents. Cody Garbrandt has showed that he can be hit with the right hand often throughout his UFC career, and as I mentioned earlier, was knocked stiff against a heavy right hand in his amateur career. Takeya Mizugaki will probably get KO'd in this fight, but like I said, feeling that Takeya could take this fight. If Mizugaki can weather Cody's power, I think he can also rock Cody or knock him out. I can see Cody easily getting overconfident in this fight, being much too willing to trade in the pocket. Mizugaki is a veteran, has much more experience against tougher competition, underrated power, underrated striking. Obviously, the biggest factors holding Takeya back in this fight are the age differential, Takeya's chin, and Cody's speed. However, I'm picking Takeya Mizugaki for a big upset in the second round, knockout, TKO with a perfectly timed right hand. Raquel Pennington versus Elizabeth Phillips. Phillips has shown a noticeable improvement in her stand-up between her fight with Ava and Jessamine Duke. We'll have to wait and see if she's improved since then. Regardless, she still doesn't set a good rhythm. She kind of lacks in striking defense. When she's pressured, she'll kind of just start throwing hooks, and her footwork doesn't seem to have much meaning or direction. It's getting better for sure. Pennington is definitely a counter striker with economical footwork. Her fight against Betch showed a very reserved style focused primarily on counter striking and shots in the pocket. An interesting styles matchup here because I think Phillips is going to throw at a high volume, while Pennington tries to find the counter shots and all of the madness that Phillips brings. I think this fight has all the makings to be a split decision. If Pennington fights like she did against Betch, she'll probably have the cleaner and more effective strikes. Phillips will probably find success with her punches and bunches, landing at a higher volume, but at a lower accuracy. I'm unsure of how the grappling exchanges will turn out. I'm confident Pennington will do much better landing strikes in the clinch. If you combine her amateur and professional record, most of her wins come by submission, but I think Phillips probably a better grappler than striker. I'm leaning Raquel Pennington. She's a better tactical fighter with cleaner strikes than Phillips. She should be able to win a unanimous decision, but I have a feeling just the way these styles match up that it'll probably be a split. So Raquel Pennington via decision. Artem Lobov versus Chris Avila. I don't really have any interest in this fight. This fight kind of belongs in the Mickey Gall versus CM Punk category on the prelims of a regional promotion, honestly. But let's start by saying Chris Avila has a 7-inch reach advantage, and with the way Artem fights, I think he's really going to struggle reaching Chris. Chris has shades of the Diaz brothers, trains under Richard Perez. He has a good lead hand, looking for the check hook, and also the 1-2 down the pipe. I notice he is pressured fairly easily against the fence, so that could help Artem for sure, but most fighters do in the small cages of regional shows. Assuming UFC 202 will be held in their standard cage, Avila will have much more room to move. Artem is horribly inaccurate, doesn't land his strikes often, so that means he'll be countered often. With a 7-inch reach to get past and the use of Chris's lead hand, I think Artem is in for a long night of chasing Chris around. Artem is more experienced, has the UFC experience, he's a veteran, faced the tougher competition, but I think unless Artem can pressure Chris and land a bomb, I just don't see him winning. Chris Avila takes a decision victory, I think, over Artem Lobov. And the opening fight to Fox Sports 1 is Randa Markos versus Courtney Casey. Randa will be at a 4-inch reach disadvantage and a 3-inch height disadvantage. I don't think that'll be much of an issue since Casey was pressured against the fence by Siohei Ham and lost a decision to her. Courtney's octagon awareness seems rather low. She has potential with her reach and power. Also has a purple belt in BJJ, but Randa is tough. She also has a heavy top game. I think Randa will be able to take Casey's best shots, press forward, land her own shots, and press her against the fence, maybe even take her to the ground. I think this will be a long fight, a little back and forth, but I see Randa taking a decision victory in this fight. I'm going to say Randa Markos via decision. And finally, we're going to do the UFC Fight Pass early prelims. Neil Magny versus Lorenz Larkin, a really good matchup. I'm looking forward to this fight for sure. I always pick Neil Magny, haven't picked against him yet. He's been through some tough fights, but I think this one might be one of his toughest for sure. Lorenz Larkin is able to put on that pressure and potentially hurt Neil Magny because Neil Magny doesn't work too well with his reach. But I don't think Larkin's one to gas out. I think he's better at finishing. Neil Magny always figures out some way or another to win. He might have the advantage in the grappling department. As we know, he's pretty good with top control. Other than that, I'm not picking against Neil Magny. I definitely feel uneasy about this one, but a Magny fight always feels that way. So Neil Magny via decision. Don't have much to say about Covington versus Max Griffin, but definitely going to choose Covington here. Has that wrestling game, which can lead to the submission game. So going to choose Covington to win this one via decision as well. And then Alberto Uda looked pretty good. I don't know much about Marvin. I believe this is his debut anyway. I'm going to go Uda here via decision based not on much. I haven't looked into Marvin at all. I just know Uda is a pretty decent looking fighter. Looked good in his debut. So that's about it for my picks. Thank you for watching Rapid MMA. I hope you enjoy UFC 202.